So there are rumours that Janibek and Carlos Adames will be fighting at middleweight for a world title unification bout. Now, in my opinion, this would be a pretty easy win for Janibek. Now, I do like Carlos Adames. I think Carlos Adames is definitely one of the better guys at 160. But 160 at the moment is quite a weak division. And Carlos Adames' most notable performance was that draw against Hamza Shiraz. Now, in my opinion, he did get robbed against Hamza Shiraz. I think he boxed very well. But even against Shiraz, he just proved to be a bit too hittable, right? If Shiraz was as injured, which apparently he was, I think he broke his hand in that fight, he was still far too hittable. Now, you got to think if Shiraz didn't have that injury and was willing to let his hands go a bit more, obviously, if you've got a broken hand, you're not going to be throwing as many punches. But if he was able to throw more punches, you think he could have maybe got Carlos Adames out of there if he was able to really put his punches together. That being said, he couldn't, so he didn't. I do think Carlos Adames should have won that fight on points. But yeah, other than that, Carlos Adames hasn't really got any other really world-level guys on his resume, and he has been beaten before. That being said, Carlos Adames is a tricky fighter in my opinion. I think he applies pressure well. I think he boxes well for the most part as well. Decent enough boxing fundamentals. But Janibek, on the other hand, is by far the best guy at 160 in my opinion. Janibek has got some power. I mean, Adames has power as well. He has, but neither guy has really been mixing it with the elite of the elite because there aren't really those elite names at 160. So it is a bit harder, which is sort of why I'd like to see these unification bouts because a lot of the guys at the top, they need to be fighting each other because there's not like it's a super stacked division below those guys at 160 at the moment. But yeah, I think Janibek will win this fight because Janibek is a slick southpaw puncher, and I think he can punch with bad intentions. Not to say that Adames can't, but Adames is a lot more hittable than Janibek. Janibek, of course, does hold 2 world titles at middleweight, and Adames does have to hold the WBC. So if they can get a unification bout, and if Janibek could win that, he'd hold 3 belts out of middleweight, and the only one remaining would be Erislandy Lara, and I think Lara should fight Crawford next. But that's a topic for another video. I did talk about that in another video. But yeah, Janibek seems like he's a nice counter puncher, and he seems the type of methodical boxer that truly can take advantage of openings when he sees them, and when he does it in devastating fashion. Right, he's 17-0 with 12 knockouts. He feels like he's a nice size for the weight division. He looks a bit slender. He's definitely not like your Shiraz or any of the other former middleweights that have moved up to super middleweight. He's not got that sort of level of bulk on him, but he's sort of this, where's he from? Kazakhstan? Uzbekistan, one of these places. He's got that sort of like, sort of similar to Triple G sort of build. I think he's probably a bit more dynamic of a puncher, dynamic of a boxer as well, in terms of he moves a bit more, but that's probably partially due to him being a southpaw than the likes of Triple G. But their body types is similar, where they're sort of slender, they're not hugely muscle bound, but they've got great boxing fundamentals and are able to really throw a punch with bad intentions. Of course, Triple G is a far bigger puncher than Janibek ever was and ever will be. But I say all of that to say I think Janibek would be able to beat Adames and probably be a 12-round decision. I don't see Janibek stopping Adames, even though I do think Adames is more hittable out of the two. I don't think he's going to be a complete, sitting target. I think Adames does move well, and we saw a lot of that movement against Shiraz. I would have liked to see a bit more from Adames in that fight because, like I said, I think that fight was there for the taking. But it's tough because on one hand, you're like, Adames could have done more. On the other hand, I'm like, well, he actually, in my opinion, he did do enough to win that fight. So it's tricky, but yeah, I do think Janibek would win that fight, and yeah, I think he could go on to hold 3 belts at middleweight. I would be super curious to know what you guys think of this fight. Do you think Adames could beat Janibek, or do you think it would be another routine win for Janibek, and he would claim 3 world championships at middleweight? I'd be super curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know, and I'm out. Peace.